Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast, episode 769. As we look at, I'm your host, Cyril Gerald-Quinn, as I look at the latest edition, the latest episode of season 4 of the remarkable show, Snowfall, season 4, episode 6. Say a little prayer. And one of the episodes that this title was mentioned in the episode. So you always like to wonder how they come up with these titles in a particular episode. Well, kind of get a sense of after watching this episode, we kind of know where this title came from. This episode, of course, themes in terms of this episode, literally and figuratively, deep cuts. There were a number of deep cuts in this particular episode. Just again, another brilliant episode of this show. And we're gonna get right into the best scenes. Teddy speaks to his father. This was the first deep cut of the episode. This scene, I'll give some context on this scene a little bit from my perspective. I actually saw this scene before I watched the episode. They put in a FX, puts these little sneak peeks like hours before the episode airs. So they'll put them in on like a Wednesday morning when the episode, of course, airs Wednesday night. I'm upset that I even watched this scene. It was too good. It's actually just too good to be a sneak peek. It really was. I might actually have to stop watching the Snowfall sneak peeks. They'll give you a little 2 minutes of the up and coming episode. So Teddy gets a phone. Teddy's knocked out on his couch or in his bed. I forgot which one, couch or bed. He's knocked out sleep. He gets a call from his father. Um, his father tells him that his brother Matt has died. Teddy immediately says, "Hey, I can be down there, as soon as possible." His father says, "Hey, no need for that. The funeral was 2 days ago." Um, and Teddy, of course, is in shock, and his father just go. His father absolutely lets him have it. He says, "It should have been you're basically you're responsible. It should have been you." Um, and I anticipate that we don't have to speak. We won't ever have to speak again. And it is I've you know been watching television a long time. That is as you you as a parent, there's no it was just remarkable. And shout out to both actors in this scene. They both Carter Hudson, who plays Teddy Mack, and John Dial, who's been around forever, plays his father. And again, I that was a cut so deep, and it was just you could tell. I mean, the hatred that you have to have for your son or daughter to do that, to say that to him, to do that to him is beyond belief. And um, Teddy clearly, again, to give you some context on if you don't remember from the story with his brother. So back in season 2, he got his brother involved in one of his, in trying to help him move some guns or got him involved. I gotta go back and watch season 2. I really do. Well, anyway, he got his brother involved. He used one of his brother's planes. Brother's planes. Of course, his brother was a pilot, and his brother got kidnapped by some Colombians. They had him on a coke bench, and they caused him to. It fucked up his heart. I mean, he had a number of strokes and heart attacks, and he never. And season 3, you see him. He drops him off with his father. His father was basically the caretaker, and his father's it has to be in his 60s. Um, and the brother was never the same. I mean, he had, like I said, they kidnapped him for at least a weekend, if not longer, and had him sniffing coke. I think basically sniffing pure coke at that. So that just messed his whole body up, and he ended up dying of a heart attack. So the amount of hate, and it's almost is basically justifiable. I mean, you in essence are Teddy is in essence responsible for his brother's death. He knows this. His father knows this. So this made that scene that much more powerful. Just an incredible scene to kick off the show. I mean, it's one of the scenes that you normally end the show with, or in the middle of the show. This was the very first scene of the show. Very powerful scene, and like similar to Franklin, Teddy is losing people. He just lost his brother, and he just lost his father in essence because his father wants nothing to do with him. Scully, Manboy, and Khadijah. Um, Scully was hilarious in this scene. Scully is paranoid, and he's not paranoid because of the drugs. He's not even doing drugs right now. He believes that God is punishing them because in episode 1 he crucified one of Manboy's soldiers, hung him up. Like Jesus was crucified on the cross. He hung one of Manboy's soldiers up, and just like that. And he believes that all this bad luck, his daughter died with bad luck, but all this bad fortune, his daughter dying, everything that's been happening is because of God punishing him. And this guy, he's hanging, he's got all these religious crosses up in his house. He's repenting. I mean, DeAndre Bonds is just phenomenal as Scully. He really is. Um, so Manboy and Khadijah are looking at him like, what's wrong with him? What's up with you? Even Manboy's like, you still on that Sherm? And then he's like, Scully immediately retorts like, look, I'm not on anything. And Khadijah, of course, is losing patience with both Manboy and Scully because she wants Leon dead. He killed her daughter, accident or not. She wants him dead. And she says at this point, she calls them both out. She says Manboy is more concerned about finding Franklin's plug, and he basically gives them both. She reads them the riot act, both of them, and at this point, that Khadijah has some plans of her own, which we'll talk about later in the episode. Um, so we go to Franklin and Leon. Franklin goes over to the apartment that he's letting Leon hold, and they begin to discuss. He's trying to see he's trying to see how Leon is doing. Leon, of course, sharing a little bit film about the nightmares and things of that nature. Um, Franklin tries to take some of the pressure off Leon. Says, "Hey, it wasn't on you. She shouldn't have been in the car to begin with." And then Leon's not trying to hear that. So then, even without even saying it, Franklin basically says, "Look, the cops are still on us. Um, this right here is not working. Or this not right here is not working." Leon said, "I could do the stretch." Um, and Franklin says, "No, I need you on the outside." And then simultaneously, and this was brilliant acting too by the both Damson Idris and uh, and Isaiah John. They both think of what they see what each other's thinking in terms of giving up fat back without even saying it. And then they get into it. Franklin says, "Look, we'll take care of these peoples. We got to get the cops something because the cops are on us. We got to give them something." So they decide. Franklin decides. Franklin convinces Leon um, to um, to assist him in helping in talking to Fat back about going turning himself into the police. Now there was also a scene. What led up to this is, of course, Franklin gets busted. Franklin and Peaches get busted by the cops, get pulled over. Peaches gets assaulted by a couple of the cops. Franklin gets his head slammed on basically not slammed, but pushed on the trunk. Luckily, they had nothing in the back seat. And I think the drugs were in the speaker system, which the cops did not know of. So They didn't get busted from that standpoint. And the detective, basically says, we're not going to stop until the killer of this young girl is found. So that scene, I don't have that listed here, but that is the scene that drove the Franklin convincing Leon to for Fatback to turn himself in. Oh, so Jerome and Louis. So Jerome and Louis go to Little Rock. You remember Franklin has been talking about expansion, and of course Louis knows some peoples down there. She knows a childhood friend who has a husband. They're down in Little Rock. They basically showed them they basically tell them you know about what they've been doing, about how they're gonna make them, they can become rich, and they school them on the drugs, show them how to make it, and what have you. And during this whole time, Jerome really doesn't want any part of this from the standpoint of he knows what drugs did to the community that he was in before Franklin got involved. Excuse me, before Franklin got involved with Teddy Mack. Remember, Jerome was just a weed dime, was just selling dime bags. If you go back to season one, Jerome never had any intentions of getting this deep uh, into into the game. He just was wanted to do just dime bags. Now of course, they are as far as you can possibly be in the game. So they show this couple how to make the drugs. They also showed them. They also introduced them to some guns with some Uzis. Now, keep in mind with this couple. This couple is struggling financially. Uh, the lady who was Louis' childhood friend has a baby on the way. She's pregnant. She also has two other kids. They live in they live in meager accommodations as far as a house, if you want to call it a house. Um, and they're in this, they're in this place. They're in Arkansas, and they also live with somebody. I don't know, this dude was the brother. Well, he was in charge of watching the kids, so he's a character that we're gonna certainly basically have to keep an eye on. And they tell them, don't smoke this. We'll show you how to make it. You can make a lot of money. You cannot smoke this. And of course, the young boy is like, why not? So we already know what time it is with him, and he's gonna be the one that's gonna cause some shit. I can tell you that right now. Um, so they have, Jerome and Louis have Arkansas, now have Little Rock, basically set up, this particular town in Little Rock basically set up with the drugs. And we'll get to more about how Jerome feels. Jerome is against it. He says, Jerome basically says in a bedroom scene with Louis, at least before he left and went to a hotel because he didn't like the accommodations, basically said, we're going to turn these people into killers or they're going to get killed. And Louis basically said, if they're smart, if we teach them the right way, basically Louis, similar to Khadijah, Louis is in it all the way. Like Louis, there's no turning back for Louis. She's in it all the way. Jerome tries to say, hey, you have all this money now, you have your own nightclub. How much more do you want? And there'll be a later scene with Louis and Jerome, which will have a reveal that will make more. Everything will make perfect sense to Jerome in terms of why Louis is the way she is, in terms of being married to the game. We'll talk about that later, later on in the podcast. Khadijah and Fatback. So Fatback goes to jail. He turns himself in. He goes to jail. And he posts bail. Now, Khadijah comes up with this brilliant plan, and let me give you. So I'm gonna kind of what led up to this scene. I'll tell you what happened. What led up to this scene. Khadijah cooks some concoction of hydrochlorine, some type of concoction that she's cooking in the house. So she has, and I should have had that on as one of the best scenes because it was. So Scully's like, "What's that smell?" She says, "Something I'm making, something I'm making." And she also says, and more important, she also says, "I need a lot of money. I don't even want to argue. I'm not even going to argue about it." So he immediately gives in to her demands, and it turns out that she takes that money and bails out Fatback, and he's not bailed, yes, post Fatback's bail. She comes, so she doesn't, so she sends another girl. If you remember, this girl slept with one of Scully's dudes, or Manboy. I think it was Scully's dudes in episode 1. So she comes up to the court, up to the police station, and tells Fatback that this is a gift. I'm a gift from Franklin and Leon, and tells him that we're gonna have a threesome. Fatback is excited on two accounts: getting, number one, getting out, and number two, the fact that he's believing that he's gonna have a threesome. Khadijah pops in, gets in the car, puts Fatback to sleep with the hydrochlorophyll, knocks him out. He punches the girl in the mouth during this, the girl that was driving, the other girl. So they kidnap him, take him to a location, empty lot somewhere, or empty, abandoned, some type of abandoned building, and basically Khadijah you know, pressures him to give up Leon. She slices him up, and she he refuses. He doesn't give up Leon. Says, "I don't know. I don't know where he's at." And says, and then he triggers her by saying that, "I'm sorry about your daughter. I didn't pull the trigger," and that of course sets Khadijah off, and she says, "Say a little prayer," of course, which is the title of the episode, and she repeatedly stabs him to death over and over, and leaves him in front of Louis and Franklin's club. So Khadijah is a problem. She's smart. She's she is well. She really thinks out. This was a brilliant plan. I mean, it like I didn't. It was just beyond brilliant, the plan that she came up with to post bail for Fatback. Um, and she has the ear of Scully. We've seen in the last couple episodes that when she says something, it goes. So yeah, Scully may be on the surface the boss, but in reality, it is Khadijah that maybe we can make a case that it is the driving force behind Scully and his operation. To be honest with you, Khadijah is just as dangerous as Scully. And I'm telling you, like this young lady is no joke. Shout out to the actor that's playing her because she's killing it. I'll pull up her name later on in the program. But yeah, so Khadijah takes out Fatback, and we see Franklin and Peaches see the body in front of his store, in front of his club later on. So Teddy goes to visit Franklin at the club. Teddy, of course, is drunk out of his mind and following the news of his brother. The back and well, nah, I can't even call it a back and forth with his father. It was tongue lashing by his father. He's drunk, and he basically it's one of those situations where you started where if you're drunk and it's that liquid courage and you just start talking shit, and that's what Teddy does. Teddy normally is a calm customer. He normally is very patient with Franklin. He normally is very respectful towards Franklin. Um, Even though they don't trust each other. But he comes out of his mouth in this scene. Basically, he tells Franklin, you keep fucking up. You should have killed Leon. Franklin says, "Look, I got it. I'm taking care of it." Teddy says, "You keep fucking up. And remember, everybody is replaceable. Everybody." And that resonates with Franklin to a T. Um, Frank, listen, you can make a case that Teddy should not have said this, but probably doesn't matter because Franklin, I just don't think Franklin trusted Teddy to begin with, or trust Teddy at all. Um, they're both in a way using each other to get to where they want to be, to get what they want. So I think this was the proverbial nail in the coffin from a standpoint of Franklin now knows that he's got to get away from Teddy, and he's got to come up with a plan that eventually separates him, that gets him from under Teddy's thumb. Um, so you had that. Louis and Jerome in the car. So Louis and Jerome have, they go to this party the night before they leave. And the party, they had the town. They realize that the town already is on lock as far as the drugs. People are just hooked. The couple tells them, the lady tells them, and again, similar to Khadijah, and the lady is the driving force behind this. Her husband is out of work. She convinces her husband to get into the drug game. She says, "Look, we can't keep going on like this. We need this money, and we need this. This will be good for us." So she talks him into it. So I definitely wanted to mention that. So they've learned how to make the drugs. They had the town, that small section of the town, on lock, and they basically asked Louis, when can I get some more? Basically Louis says, basically anytime you want. Um, Jerome says, look, we gotta go, and they get back in the car. They get in the car, and Louis, I got Louis. It's Louis with a as IE. Louis tells Jerome that um, Teddy Mack is with the CIA, and that we are selling these drugs for him so that he can fund a war down in South America, Nicaragua, or what have you. And then Jerome puts everything together. He says that's why Franklin beat the charge. That's why we're getting these drugs for basically dirt cheap. And you know, Louis says, yeah, we have no. There's Louis says this is why we cannot quit. We couldn't quit if we even wanted to. And Jerome has a look like basically that look of a defeated look on his face. And again, Louis knew what time it was when Franklin shared all that information with her. So Louis is all in. Louis is going to do whatever it takes, um, regardless. Now, I still think a lot of me still thinks that Louis enjoys the hustle. Louis got some. You remember Mitch from Paid in Full? Louis kind. I think Louis is kind of like Mitch. Like she just enjoys the game. I think. So Jerome and Louis take care of Arkansas. Uh, Franklin now has officially expanded from that standpoint. But again, they're gonna. You just know that that the couple and then along with the dude who was watching the kids, they're gonna fuck it up in some kind of type of way. It's too many holes with them. They're gonna find a way to fuck that up. It's just a matter of time. And of course, the ending scene, Irene threatens Alton. She goes to the shelter. Basically, he tries to attempts to kick her out again, and she basically says, "Listen, I have information on your whole family. I can go at your whole family with the information I have. I don't want to do that. I want to take down the cop, the CIA agent that's supplying this neighborhood and including Franklin with the drugs. Um, if you help me with that, then I won't take down your whole family." So she gives Alton a ultimatum, basically gives him 24 hours to cooperate with her, or she's going to go after Franklin and Sissy and his family, leaving him basically almost leaving him with no choice. So finally with Irene, you have a scene um, where I actually enjoyed the character. So I actually enjoyed the character in this particular scene. But there's to make a prediction that's kind of obvious. There's no way there's no way that this character is living, making it through this season. The character, the reporter Irene, there's no zero chance. Like she's trying to come at Franklin and Teddy Mack is not. She just knows too much. She absolutely knows too much. So that I cannot see this character making it through this season. And of course, themes we go back to deep cuts. Of course, literally the deep cuts. We saw the scene with Khadijah killing Fatback. But there were a number of deep cuts for a number of our characters. We see a picture here of this is the conversation with Teddy having with his father. You saw Jerome, Louis giving Jerome a deep cut with the realization that they are never getting out the drug game, and the fact that, and I left out this scene when Franklin tells Leon that Fatback is dead. Leon, and again, very interesting scene. So Franklin tells Leon that that they got Fatback. Leon's immediate response is, did it go, was it quick? And Franklin says no. And Leon loses his shit, just basically flips out, just tears up his place, blames Franklin. Peaches, tries to intervene. Franklin tells him let him vent. Basically gives Peaches, kind of like a signal, a facial signal, basically saying, hey, let him, that was his man. Um, Leave him be. Let him vent. And now you have more dissension between Franklin and Leon. And remember, Franklin told Leon, he'll be all right, take care of his peoples and what have you. And in essence, Leon's definitely gonna blame Franklin for getting Fatback killed. So reality hit hard in many ways with a number of characters, including Franklin. That realization that he now can't trust Teddy Mack at all. So that is a realization that he has to speed up his exit strategy, as soon as possible to get from under the thumb of Teddy Mack. So again, to me, the clear theme of this episode was deep cuts. Other things going on. Wanda gets clean. So Wanda, after a couple of days, seemingly a couple of weeks of going cold turkey in the hospital and probably driving the nurses up a wall, she walks out clean. She actually starting to resemble the character that we first saw, like I think in season 1, was actually an attractive act. The actress that actually plays Wanda is actually is a pretty attractive girl. And we forget that because she's been a crackhead for like the last 2 seasons. So she's trying to stay clean and she's begging. She gets Leon on the phone and wants Leon to help her to get to stay clean. She needs a place to stay. So she needs a place to stay. She ends up going to Alton's shelter to sleep. It'd be interesting to follow Wanda throughout the course of this episode. There was a time in this episode where I thought Wanda might be on the hit list as far as possibly one of the people that Manboy might take out. I know that's might have been reaching a little bit, but I kept getting nervous because I knew that you knew coming in this episode that somebody was going to get taken out for the revenge of Khadijah's and Scully's daughter. And the MVP of this episode had to be Khadijah. I mean, she comes up with a brilliant plan. She does what Manboy and Scully have been able to do. That's get to Leon now. Besides the part, besides the fact that this was a brilliant plan to take out Fatback with posting his bail, she also I'm sure she thought about this as well. This also has an opportunity to bring out Leon, knowing how emotional and reckless Leon can be. So I'm sure was a part of her plan as well, to do something to bring him out in the open. So again, she without question to me was the MVP of this episode. The actress who plays her who plays character Khadijah is, let me look her up real quick. Uh, yeah, Jeffrey Maya, relatively new. Been on a couple of things. She hasn't been around for long. She was on Blackish and some other things. Wow, she's been around for a while. Actually, she was on Private Practice, like back in the day. If you remember that show, that was back in the early mid 2010s. So she's killing it right now, and she is without question a problem moving forward. Like luckily for Franklin, if her and Manboy got together as far as, and again, I know they're brothers. I mean, if they got together as far as combining their minds and their thoughts, it will be scary. It really, because they're both cunning, they're both smart, they both play chess. So luckily for Franklin, she's with Scully, who just isn't just not just from a strategy standpoint. We know Scully is just not the brightest, to say the least. Um, that's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. This episode will be up before. This episode will be up later on. Um, up the episode will be up by Friday, so be on the lookout for that. I will see you next time for episode seven of Snowfall. The season's going by quick. I mean, we're already 6 episodes through. 6 episodes, we're already halfway done. So season's going by quick, and again, every episode has been great up until this point. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will see you next time. I'm out.